Hello everybody, this is Yoko's Anime Reactions, and hang on, I don't even need my headphones for this. Okay. Okay. So, this is going to be my reading for I'm the Villainess, so I'm Taming the Final Boss, Volume 1. And, boy, this is definitely going to be interesting. Prelude. The curtain rises on the Villainess. Come to think of it, I've often had curious dreams ever since I was small. Dreams in which I become someone I don't know. Someone who spends her time all alone, in a white room that smells of disinfectant, playing with a device whose workings are a complete mystery. If I remember correctly, the main character in the show was in the hospital before she ended up in that world. Since they are dreams, I can't recall the details. Even my own name is unclear. However, honestly, child, you're always playing that game. The daydreams replay behind my eyes at a furious pace. My body tilts dizzily, and then I'm on my hands and knees on the cold, hard floor. It feels as if I'm suddenly remembered the exact whereabouts of something I've forgotten. A great wave of information crashes over me, and my head throbs violently. At last, my eyes focus on the marble floor. Its surface has been polished until it shines, and I can see my reflection in it. Or at least, I think that's what my eyes are telling me. But who is this splendid beauty with hair like spun gold and mystical sapphire eyes? With pale fingers, I trace the slender neck up to the oval outline of the face. This face. I feel as if I saw it in the game. What game? When I blink, the long eyelashes rise and fall. Someone is standing directly in front of me. It's a golden-haired youth. His lips are twisted, and he's looking down at me. Making a show of kneeling and weeping won't win you any sympathy. Everyone here knows you constantly did as you pleased, taking full advantage of your position as my betrothed. No one has any reason to sympathize with you. Master Cedric? Are you truly Master Cedric? I don't even know why they pronounce it that way. It's Cedric. Whatever. My voice is faint and trembling. The blonde, princely youth's response sounds ironic. I expect you're trying to say this is strange coming from me. This is who I truly am, though you were my fiancé for years and you never even saw that. A pang runs through my chest and I slowly come to grips with reality. That's right, this is reality. The person in front of me is Cedric Jean Elmire, Crown Prince of Imperial Elmire. I've known him since we were very young. He is my fiancé, and a love interest in the game that I adored. Game? Love interest? Bewildered by my own memories, I look around. All I see are cold, piercing eyes. This evening, the academy I attend is holding a soiree in celebration of the end of the winter term. The teachers have all excused themselves, and only students are present now, and yet every single one of them is watching me coldly from a distance. The only one whose eyes seem to contain pity for me is the girl who's nestled close to Cedric. Whatever, Cedric, I don't care. Hang on, my eye is something. Get a freaking pain in my eye. Her name is Lilia Rhinois, whatever. Although of common birth, she's now the daughter of a baron and quite popular here at school. Silky caramel-colored hair, supple cheeks, lips that look so sweet. Right now, her large eyes are filled with concern for me. I'd expect no less of a heroine, I think, looking up at her. Then suddenly, it occurs to me. In that case, I must be Eileen Lauren... Dang it, how do I pronounce that? D'Altrice? I'm dissolving our engagement. Wait, that's my name. And also the name of the game's Villainess. Wait. That's right. Master Cedric is my fiancé, which means I've been watching my current situation unfold as if it has no bearing on me, but all at once I began to think about it. Seeing Eileen so clearly anxious, Cedric sneers at her. I've decided to be true to myself and live my life with Lilia. Lady Eileen, I'm sorry. What do you mean you're sorry? Yeah, you kind of stole her fiancé, so that's kind of dickish in itself. Because, I mean, why would people do that? That's just rude. Do you really want that's happened to you? I highly doubt you do that to yourself. The violent emotion surging up from the depths of my throat is properly speaking. Eileen's. My vision grows misty again, but I bite my lip, trying to stay in control. I take another look at myself. I'm sitting weakly on the floor in a magnificent dress made of layer upon layer of lace. It's an unladylike state completely unsuitable for the daughter of a duke. However, no one offers me a helping hand. After all, this is the Villainess' broken engagement event. I'm sick to death of your deluded belief that I love you. Why did you smile and say you loved me as I was, then? Yeah, that's kind of like, why would you say you love someone if you don't love them? That's cruel. The words are pathetic, and I bite them back. They feel as heavy as lead, but strangely, once I've swallowed them, then my heart grows calmer. How should I put this? I do think my memories have chosen an awful time to come back, but it's helped me collect myself just a bit. Even though I can understand that I've been well and truly used and tossed aside. If you have anything to say in your defense, I won't refuse to listen. If this had happened when I still knew nothing, I'm sure I would have fought tooth and nail. I would have been fighting the wrong person. That thought gives me room to breathe. Smiling thinly, I raise my head. No, Master Cedric. Although I do think that had you been honest with me in the first place, there would have been no need to prepare such an exaggerated venue, nor to cause such a scene. When I gaze coldly at those around me, some of the onlookers quickly avert their eyes, possibly because they've taken my meaning. However, Cedric simply responds with a snort. We're demonstrating our resolution. Lillian and I. It's not because you are frightened that should you have chosen some other public place, you would have been reprimanded by both the House of d'Altrice and the Emperor. Of course not. I simply felt that your crimes should be judged before everyone. My crimes? What? Suddenly, someone beside me pulls my arm, lifting me. Turning my head, I look at my opponent. Refrain from manhandling me, if you would. Is that any way to treat a lady? What lady? Enough of this, Eileen. There's no way to disguise what you've done. It's another childhood friend of mine who's spoken. Marcus Caldwell. He shoves a sheaf of paper under my nose. He's a slim, taciturn young man who's seen as a likely future captain of the Knights. He has a strong sense of justice, and he will not countenance unfairness. He glowers with his intimidating eyes at me as if I'm a criminal. I'm perfectly capable of standing on my own. Unhand me, won't you? I gaze back at Marcus coldly, rise to my feet without any help, and pull my arm free. I then flip through the papers that he held out to me. They are written accusations. When did he collect those? Because Lilia is of lower rank, I bullied her by telling her not to speak to me first. At my insistence, the play for the Academy Festival was changed, and poor Lilia was forced to learn her lines all over again. I threatened that if she didn't do as I told her, I'd have her bureaucrat parents demoted, and so on and so forth for pages. All the statements are anonymous, and naturally, none are signed. Running out of patience, I tossed them away behind me. Ridiculous! You call this proof? In the midst of a cloud of rustling, drifting paper, I smile elegantly. Marcus, let me enlighten you. So-and-so says such and such isn't proof. It's merely rumors, or possibly libel. Even with all these reports, you deny it? Don't think you can get away with this just because you're the daughter of Duke d'Altrice. My, I do believe you've taken me for a fool. If Duke d'Altrice's daughter tried in earnest to cover something up, do you really believe there would be any proof left to find? Besides, could this whole farce be any more juvenile? When did the students of this academy regress to infancy? As I speak, I grind one of the papers that fall onto the velvet carpet under the toe of my shoe. Then I smile. If you insist that I look these over, would you collect them once more, and with signatures? If you do, I'll make certain to remember them, every single name. Surely you aren't telling me they require an anonymity in order to accuse a mere girl like myself? What a disgrace that would be. Irritated by my choice of words, Marcus spits out his response. Why is that you can speak so glibly while even the idea of apologizing never occurs to you? Apologize? Yes, in that case I shall. Lady Lilia, as you were raised a commoner, I do apologize for attempting to force you to abide by the aristocratic rule that one must not speak to those of higher rank, unless spoken to first. I also regret that I had the school play changed out of concern that it would be difficult for you to learn such lengthy lines. Hold your tongue, Eileen. Have you not ridiculed Lilia enough? I'm the one that's being ridiculed. The Crown Prince himself has just informed me in front of an audience that he is breaking off our engagement. He even collected infantile written accusations in order to prove beyond doubt that everyone hates me. If they had no intention of collectively making a laughingstock of me, there would have been no need for any of this. However, it's likely that Cedric, red-faced and angry, and Marcus, who's trembling with clenched fists, see only Lilia, whose eyes are damp with tears. Upon closer inspection, I realize that the students at the very front of the crowd are either love interests and their hanger-ons. Attendance was not mandatory at this soiree. They must have deliberately organized to make this moment come together. After waiting for the teachers to depart, they sprung their trap. How wily of them! No, however it happened, I'm the one who was outplayed. It's pointless to stay here any longer. I sigh at the futility of it all, then take a deep breath. This has gone on long enough. I'll be taking my leave, then. My only regret is that I can't shamefully weep and beg for you, as I'm sure many of those assembled here had hoped I would. Bite back the tears. Only show a smile. The last thing I want is to allow them to feel even a hint of superiority at having caught me in their little scheme. Which means I have to be the one to bring the curtain down. On that note, good evening, everyone. Master Cedric, I did admire you. Cedric looks as if that parting comment caught him by surprise. However, I already put it all behind me. With impeccable manners, I raise the hem of my skirt and curtsy. Then I gracefully leave the ball, turning my back on its glimmering chandeliers. Now, what far have I gotten? Oh, page 14! Dang! Of 227. I got a long way to go. Probably because I've gritted my teeth in a stubborn refusal to cry, my temples are throbbing. Even so, I force myself to think. In the game, after this point, I will be expelled from the academy at Cedric's request because he doesn't even want to see my face. If that's how it's going to play out, I'll simply withdraw voluntarily before that happens. The game ends with the academy's graduation ceremony. That's still about 3 months away. I'll have to use my remaining time efficiently. If I recall correctly, there are several other major events leading up to that. My memories are still a jumble, and a lot of it is vague, but I'm fairly sure that the ducal family disowned Eileen. She was turned out into the family's seedier district and fell into self-destructive waves. That's right, this really is the world of the game. I don't have a moment to waste on tears. 3 months from now, during the ending, by that time everyone else is graduating from the academy, Eileen the Villainess will be dead. That isn't even funny! I won't give them the satisfaction of seeing me cry. I won't give up. I refuse to die for the happiness of people like them. Think, remember, what can I do under these circumstances? Then it hits me. I gasp, eyes widening. They do say the enemy of my enemy is my friend, don't they? A smile that doesn't go past my tense rogue lips slowly appears. That smile makes me look every bit a villainous young noblewoman, but at least I managed to not cry. How long have I been recording? I don't think I've been recording very long. Only 12 minutes. Okay. First act. The villainess could not care less if she is unpopular. Wings rustling, crows as dark as pitch take flight, rising into the night sky. As Eileen ducks, black cats cross her path. It's a veritable parade of ill omens. However, Eileen walks without hesitation through those woods late at night with only a hand lantern for light, her chin tucked in. In her other hand, she carries a slender sword. With a rustle of leaves, an enormous rat darts out of the brush and comes to a stop. It glares up at Eileen with a single large eye. Its ears are abnormally big and sharp fangs jut from its mouth. A demon. You almost never see them in the first layer, but when she turns the lantern's light on it, the demon rat plunges into the bushes on the opposite side of the path, vanishing. With a sigh of relief, she gets a better grip on her sword, but just as she's about to start walking again, she notices something. Crows? I wonder why they're all perched on skulls. Don't tell me they're demons as well. Not only that, but there are also scores of them in the tops of the dead trees looking down at her. If they all tackle her at once, she definitely won't escape unscathed. Their cawing almost sounds as if they're discussing how best to do away with her. Dealing with this many would be a bit much. No, I mustn't lose heart. If I turn back here, I die. Although that might still happen, even if she presses on. Technically, the Maid of the Sacred Sword's blood does run in my veins. Wouldn't that qualify as falling under her protection? In any case, I doubt I'll die until that time comes. How ironic. The fact that she's destined to die later on guarantees there's nothing to be afraid of now. With a self-deprecating smile, she raises the lantern. At the end of the path, revealed by the spilling light, she sees an old, dilapidated building. It's a royal estate that fell out of use long ago. An abandoned castle. If the rumors are correct and that this is really the same world as that game, and the person she's after lives in these ruins beyond the dense forest. Turn back. When a large crow utters that warning, Eileen shrinks back. Apparently they talk. Turns out they really are demons. Seizing the opportunity, the crows surrounding her cry out, "Turn back, human! Up ahead is the Demon King's castle. The Demon King is reading." Though it certainly seems strange for the crows to mix in oddly calming tidbits of information, she can't find it in her to laugh in a situation where birds are talking to her. "Why are you here, girl? In a rush to get killed?" Her engagement got called off yesterday. Come for revenge, have you? Pointless. She flinches, scowling. The crows caw, jeering at her. How come she looks like she doesn't care, even when everyone hates her? The girl talks a big game, but she's pathetic. Pathetic! Your reputation is ruined. Selfish, snobby, damaged goods. And really damaged goods, what? Insulting your visitors out of the blue? Is that how you lot do things around here? Eileen glares at the crows, her gaze steady. She stands tall and wears an easy, elegant smile. Did you collect those rumors on orders from the Demon King? I must admit I'm rather surprised that he has such vulgar taste. Every crow eyes her angrily. Demons hold the Demon King in the highest regard. A slight against him is a slight against them all. And taunting them is suicide. However, she can't.
Jessica, you want tater tots?
I'm good.
You don't want nothing to eat.
I'm good at the moment. I had plenty earlier for lunch. However, carrying herself like a hero on her way to challenge the Demon King, Eileen issues a bold declaration. I apologize for my discourtesy in calling unannounced at this hour. However, if Master Claude Jean Elmire proves to be petty enough to base his decisions on mere hearsay, I will promptly take my leave. Now settle down, will you? Ending her remark with a smile, Eileen gracefully walks on. For some reason, the crows keep their silence. Taking flight, they fall in behind her as she follows the trail through the gloomy forest. When she glances over, there's a rustling in the bushes that seems to be tailing her as well. Failure is unacceptable. That is what Eileen has been taught, and so she ignores everything stalking her and presses on. Before long, the view opens up. Under a starless sky, the abandoned castle appears. The structure itself is on the verge of crumbling in several places. What tapestries that remain hanging are soot-stained and tattered, and many of its vine-tangled pillars lie broken. The surrounding trees are withered and lifeless, while the small pond nearby is clouded and dark, having transformed into a bottomless swamp. The crows fly ahead of Eileen, creating a foreboding atmosphere that feels terribly appropriate. This is the Demon King's castle. The imposing silhouette revealed by the lantern's light makes her gulp audibly. It's alright. He's supposed to turn out to be a kind person, but what if that's only true for the heroine? That's totally possible. Wishful thinking is the enemy. Eileen has little choice but to steel herself and go. She takes a deep breath and raises her head. As she continues forward, she passes a stump that's surrounded by what appears to be scattered human bones. After finally reaching the rusted iron door, she pushes with all her might, but it shows no sign of moving. Panting, she tries again and again, but it refuses to budge. Still, she can't just give up now. As she raises her hands again, someone speaks up behind her. Let me help you. My, that's very kind of... With a roar, the iron door is blown away. I still don't know why he did that. The polite smile Eileen has reflexively assumed freezes up. She turns to get a look at the one who blasted the door away with the tip of a single finger. The lantern's light casts a deep shadow. Lustrous black hair of a shade deeper than the surrounding darkness streams in the damp night wind, revealing the man's features. She remembers what he looks like, or at least thought she did, but when she lays eyes on his living face, its diabolical beauty takes her breath away. A straight, neat nose and thin lips. Everything from his features to his frame is as perfectly sculpted as a first-class work of art. However, what's most striking is his blood-red eyes. If he's way more impressive in person than as a static image... Oh, wait, no. He's way more impressive in person than as a static image. But yeah, of course. But she does know this face. That fact alone strengthens her resolve. Eileen has no time. The broken engagement is an event flag in the Cedric route. At this rate, unless she does something drastic, she'll die. And so will Claude. Without, actually, any of the routes, probably. Without ever giving a proper chance to love, dream, or even enjoy her old age, just like how she frivoled away in her past life. What business does a human have with me? Claude Jean Elmire, Demon King and oldest prince of the Elmire Empire, speaks with absolutely no emotion in his red eyes, only his lips move. I can't lose my nerve after coming this far. Eileen draws herself up as she runs her fingers through her hair and flashes her usual smile. Oh, God. This show is freaking based on the light novel. Oh, my God. It's nothing unpleasant. If I end up giggling in any of this, ignore it. I've come to propose to you. Why? Right around the moment she starts to wonder why he isn't reacting, lightning falls from the sky, splitting a great dead tree cleanly in two and setting it ablaze. It's almost as if she provoked the wrath of the gods. Who is proposing marriage to whom? Eileen's smile has frozen up. Her question has just been politely turned back on her. Behind him, leaping flames crackle, illuminating their surroundings. It's rather reminiscent of a scene from hell. However, even though she's faltered, she points at him, determined not to lose. As I said, I am proposing to you. When lightning strikes around her 3 times in a row, the courage she mustered gives way to her instincts, and before she has a chance to hear his response, Eileen keels over and faints. Of course. Okay, 20. Page 20. I got through 20 pages. And I'm going to take away 20 seconds, I guess, for the interruption. I can keep going. Okay, go away. The shock of being jilted by my fiancé has caused me to remember my past life. If she'd said a thing like that, either her overprotective older brothers would have summoned a physician, or her mother would have told her that she clearly hadn't trained enough and then ship her off to do drills. As such, last night, after returning home alone and miserable, Eileen decided to spend her time reviewing in her mind everything that had happened that day. Fortunately, when she told her family she was feeling unwell and wouldn't need dinner, they quite naturally assumed she was in low spirits because her engagement had been called off. So unceremoniously, they said discussion of the future could wait until things have settled down and left her to own devices. Thanks to that, it had been a simple matter to leave undetected. Even if it was late at night when it came to slipping out of the mansion, the D'Autrice household's outstanding servants were always formidable opponents. The words, "just let her be," had never proved so useful as they did that night. In the first place, if it became known that she had gone to the Demon King's castle right on the heels of the current commotion, it would have ruined what reputation she had left. My brothers are inclined to spoil me, but they show no mercy, and father is, well... Her name is Eileen Lauren D'Autrice. That is who she currently is, the sole daughter of the House of D'Autrice, the greatest noble family in the Elmire Empire, linked to the imperial family by blood. Her father is the Prime Minister, while her mother holds the title of Duchess and is the highly regarded niece of the Empress Dowager, commanding respect in both high society and the military. Eileen's 3 older brothers fill out the rest of her family. As the youngest child and the only daughter, Eileen has been treasured her whole life. The way her brothers dote on her is particularly notorious. However, Eileen knows it's because she's a girl and not as brilliant as her siblings. It's clear they'd never considered her a rival, a real threat. She has often felt left out, and no matter how hard she studied, all her brothers consistently outstripped her. It has always seemed impossible to catch up to them in any field. Whenever Eileen sulked, her mother would tell her the same thing time and time again. Women have their own ways of fighting. Yes, they do. Eileen only realized what she'd meant that year she turned 8. That was when Cedric Jean Elmire, a genuine prince, had knelt before her and asked for her hand in marriage. Frankly, she'd been overjoyed. Cedric was simply wonderful, and the mere thought that he needed her seemed to give her a special sort of value. Whoever married him would become empress, and her father impressed upon her what an achievement it would be to obtain that special titled privilege. Or special title and position. Blech. Yeah. That was the first expectation that had ever been placed on Eileen, and soon became her dream to meet it. She quickly took to studying etiquette and dance, while drilling everything from economics to statecraft in her mind, all so that she could be of use to her future husband, going so far as to prepare for hypothetical situations in which she was, for example, attacked by bandits. She even honed her skill with a sword to keep herself from being a burden. Eileen was confident that once she was capable in a wide array of fields, Cedric would surely come to rely on her. Everyone would praise her for her efforts. Just thinking about the day that would come true filled her with happiness. and so she redoubled her efforts. As she dedicated herself to her mission, somewhere along the way, she'd become known as the arrogant girl who lords over everyone because she's the Crown Prince's fiancé. I'm assuming she didn't. Maybe she became arrogant or something later on. Eileen has always been stubborn and competitive enough to vie with her older brothers. It isn't in her to yield when she's confident she's in the right, and she never hesitated to say what was on her mind. Naturally, her personality has often been the cause of misunderstandings. Her belief in Cedric's shallow remark that he understood her, as well as her resulting neglect of everyone else around her, had been ill-advised. In no time at all, she became the most hated person at the academy, and Cedric, the one person she was sure truly understood, did the unthinkable and broke off their engagement. If Eileen had adopted a slightly more amicable attitude and pretended to be a delicate, frail maiden, then perhaps things might have played out differently. At this point, she's still capable of thinking about it objectively, if only just barely. This is only because she knows, through the game, exactly how people saw her and why. I do think I neglected what others thought of me. That said, I'm not about to try to patch things up now. After all, even if my memories of my past life have returned, I am no one but myself. In any case, she only remembers dreamlike fragments of that past life. She once lived in a land known as Japan, where both science and civilization were far more advanced than any they are here. However, she had also been sickly to the point where she often spends the better part of the year in bed. Because she died young, unable even to make the most of her adolescence, she doesn't have a great many memories to begin with. That said, the thought she remembers most vividly is, I wanted to enjoy being a teenager, and if possible, I'd like to experience the sort of romance that you see in Otome games. So it's clear she'd been a serious gamer. The one she played particularly heavily was Regalia of Saints, Demons, and Maidens. The game was set in Imperial Elmire, a Western European-style kingdom in which the legend of the Maid of the Sacred Sword was still told, the very world in which Eileen now lives. In the game, Eileen was betrothed to Cedric, the orthodox hero who required incredibly high stats to conquer. Eileen herself had been a typical villainous young noblewoman who flaunted her privileged status as the daughter of a duke, often prancing about with an entourage of hanger-ons, and generally obstructing the romantic endeavors of the heroine Lilia. She picked fights with Lilia, who came from a family of commoners, and Lilia blatantly harassed her for enrolling in a school that was attended almost exclusively by the children of the aristocracy. As the heroine's conquest of Cedric progressed, he steadily became more and more disgusted by Eileen's behavior until they finally announced he was breaking off their engagement. As a story in a game, it was comical, but as Eileen's reality, it's no laughing matter. Worst of all, no matter what happens from this point on, Eileen is fated to die. Cedric's route was the so-called main route, and it explored the national legend of the Maid of the Sacred Sword. As the story progressed, it became apparent that Lilia was the reincarnation of the maiden, and in the end she becomes a saint who saved the very empire itself. However, before that, the Demon King awakened as the final boss, the enemy the Maid of the Sacred Sword must destroy. The Demon King is the very person to whom Eileen has just proposed marriage. Claude Jean Elmire. If her knowledge of the game is still accurate, he should be 25 years old. 8 years Eileen's senior, so she would be 17. He also happened to be Cedric's elder half-brother and the former crown prince of the Imperial Elmire. However, he was born with red eyes and magic that no other human could wield. According to the tale of the Maiden of the Sacred Sword, those are considered proof that he is the reincarnation of the Demon King. So, does that have to be a bad thing? From the stories Eileen has heard, whenever danger threatens him, a horde of demons appear out of nowhere. More than anything, the demons love him, and if he ordered them to, they would lay down their lives without hesitation. If that's not a Demon King, then who could be? As a young child, Claude was the target of multiple assassination attempts, but every time without fail, demons saved him. At their wits' end, his would-be killers compromised by stripping Claude of his right to inherit the throne, and confined him to the abandoned castle, ignoring his very existence. In most of the game's routes, he awakens as a Demon King, standing in the way of the heroine and her chosen love interest. In one ending, he destroyed the Empire, while in another, he was slain by the sword that would materialize from Lilia's body. In the ensuing chaos, Eileen died. Sometimes she was seared to the bone by the beams of light Claude emitted upon becoming the Demon King, and other times she was offered as a ritual sacrifice to resurrect him. She was also frequently killed off in the narration like a minor NPC. She was usually treated as an insignificant character throughout most of the game. Eileen's most important appearances happened during the events leading up to the broken engagement. From that point on, it became clear that the staff hadn't considered it worth the effort to revisit her character in detail. Well, sure, the players aren't likely to complain if she's killed off, but come on. As the one who's slated to be killed off, that's just unacceptable. Eileen's fate is so tragic. Admittedly, the way she behaved was problematic. However, she hardly did anything that warrants death, and really, the idea that a single person is the root of all evil is only plausible in a game. As she reaches that conclusion, Eileen's consciousness ripples. She can hear voices. So why are you personally caring for a human girl, my king? No particular reason. Well, I, for one, think it's a good thing. Any prince worth his salt should be kind to ladies. Those are 3 voices, all of them male. If I recall, he had 2 attendants, one demon, the other human. Both were quite handsome in the game. Half awake, Eileen tries to draw on her game knowledge to work out what's happening. It isn't necessary for the Demon King to save a mere human. What is this talk of a prince anyway? He has no need of a human rank. This man is the eldest prince of Imperial Almar. I haven't given up, you know. Someday I'll have him marry a proper girl and build a loving family. Keith, how many times must I tell you that I intend to do no such thing? That's right, Keith is his human attendant. He's a childhood friend of the Demon King, a young man with curly nut-brown hair, spectacles, and a mild demeanor. The Demon King saved his life once when he was a child, and though his fellow humans prosecuted him for it, he serves Claude wholeheartedly. However, this young lady proposed to you, didn't she, Master Claude? The rumors about her weren't pleasant, but the fact that she's chosen you is admirable. Nothing else is, though. If you wish to keep the human woman as a pet, my king, I'll make the necessary preparations, but there's no need for that, Beelzebub. Beelzebub is his demon attendant. His long, perfectly straight hair and cold porcelain beauty makes him seem more like a devil than a monstrous demon. He is devoted to the Demon King and will follow absolutely any order Claude gives him. It's alright, Master Claude, even if her reputation's a touch less than ideal, the moment she set foot in this castle, her fate was decided. I will reshape her from the ground up and fashion her into a suitable bride for you. As I've been telling you, that won't be necessary, Keith. Then prepare to keep the human woman as a pet, my king. Why do you 2 insist on putting us together? Well, you are clearly not displeased, sire. Earlier lightning struck because you were flustered. Okay, that explains it. Oh boy, they're both very awkward. Though when he puts on the charm, it's very, very awkward. As Beelzebub speaks, Eileen heard someone choke. Keith nods. Yes, that's right. Your bouts of anger usually cause rather significant damage. What with all the earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and the like. When you truly lose your temper, you even transform into a dragon. Don't leave me behind and fully become a demon, please. Apparently there were flustered lightning bolts, not wrathful ones. Eileen had assumed he'd been aiming at her with the intent to kill. Feeling a little relieved, Eileen opens her eyes slightly. The sight that greets her is exactly what she expected, or rather, it's just like one of the scenes from the game. Claude is seated in a magnificent chair, drinking tea as his attendants offer their thoughts while standing on either side. This really is the game world, isn't it? She soared beyond surprise and now feels something closer to pure wonder. Of course, her survival is currently hanging in the balance, so she can't simply relax and be impressed. At any rate, I intend nothing of the sort, and neither does she. Look, she came with a sword. Perhaps she's come on someone's orders, or this may even be a trap of some kind. Either way, it will be a nuisance if she kills herself here. You must understand, I came of my own free will. When she speaks, the game art moves. It's as if reality itself has sprung into motion. All 3 of them direct different looks at Eileen, who is currently lying on the sofa. Keith is concerned, while Beelzebub is overtly wary and hostile. Claude's gaze, however, seems completely devoid of emotion. Makes sense. I brought the sword only for my self-defense. I intend you no harm. Do you have any illusions of defeating a demon with that toy girl? Beelzebub snorts. Eileen adjusts her position on the sofa, sitting up properly, and smiles back at him. Out of the corner of her eye, she also notes that the sword she brought is standing in the corner beside the sofa, its blade still naked. I would hate to die without putting up any resistance, you see. Resistance, Resistance is good. Very entertaining. That patently demonic notion sends a shudder down her spine. However, she keeps it to herself and continues to hold her head high. Keith chides the other attendant. Enough of that. What meaning is there in terrorizing a young human girl? Dealing with the aftermath would be a headache. And on that note, young lady Beatrice, do call me Eileen, Master Keith. You know of me? I learned as much as I could about Master Claude before I came. Yeah, that's your excuse. It would be more accurate to say she remembered, but she doesn't plan to tell them that much. Possibly because Claude isn't interested, he doesn't even blink. In his demon form as a dragon, he reigns over all creation. However, in his human form, he can't perfectly control his vast stores of magic, and his emotions cause abnormal phenomena. I already knew his character profile, and I was still caught by surprise. Claude's anger leads to volcanic eruptions. His sorrow brings unending rain. When the Demon King's heart is unsettled, it disturbs nature itself. Demons are under the influence of his emotions as well. At the moment, demons don't attack humans because he has no inclination to attack them. If feelings of hatred and anger towards humanity drive him to awaken as the Demon King, no doubt a great host of demons would immediately wreak havoc. The moment Claude awakens, he'll transform into a dragon and cease to be human completely. That's how he becomes the game's final boss, incidentally killing Eileen. In other words, if Eileen doesn't want to die, she'll have to keep Claude from turning into the final boss. Coming to that conclusion was a simple matter, but it presents a new problem. For some reason, I can't remember the content of the Demon King's Awakening event. There are quite a few other glaring holes in my memories too. All I'm sure of is that he awakens just before the end. I can't believe it, my life depends on this. Thanks to her less than reliable recollections, Eileen has no idea what must be done to avert that critical event where Claude awakens as the Demon King. It would have been fine if she could have at least managed to remember by now, but she couldn't bear to pin her hopes on something so uncertain when her life is on the line. And so she came up with another plan. Returning to the matter at hand, what brings you here, Miss Eileen? I'm told Prince Cedric called off your engagement, but if you're here to borrow the power of demons for your revenge, you've come to the wrong place. Master Claude's general policy is to spend his days in peace and quiet, you see. My, then I believe we shall get along. I am very fond of being safe as well. I hardly think people who value their safety would willingly come to see the Demon King, let alone propose marriage. Yeah. But if Master Claude will love me, I too will be able to spend my days in comforting repose. She receives several looks of bewilderment, but she can't afford to care. The one thing that allowed Claude to stay human and refrain from becoming the Demon King was his love for Lilia. Huh? Oh, I get it. I actually was right when I came to that reaction. She did know him. She did love him, but you can't be with Claude in the game, apparently. However, Lilia can't romance Claude. Claude was one of those characters who could only be conquered on the second playthrough, and he wasn't unlocked until the player had seen the ending once. Unlike the game, reality only happens once. In other words, if he can't be romanced here and now, then he's almost certain to turn into the final boss. In that case, Eileen will simply have to take Lilia's place and become the person who holds Claude back from the brink, by becoming the woman he loves. Under the current circumstances, she decided that is the safest and most optimal plan available to her. Eileen smiles at Claude. Oh boy. This is so freaking awkward. So freaking awkward to read. As such, please marry me. I will make you happy. Is this human out of her mind? I was just wondering that myself. Beelzebub, throw her out. In response to Claude's curt order, Beelzebub moves without hesitating. The moment she sees that, Eileen snatches up the sword that's leaning against the edge of the sofa and holds it to her own neck. Wait. Before Beelzebub's hand reaches Eileen, he stops. Seeing the events proceed exactly as she predicted, Eileen chuckles to herself. Had she been the heroine, she would have meekly allowed Beelzebub to seize her, and would have been forcibly returned home, gaining the rare and priceless experience of flying through the sky on her way. However, it isn't as if she has much of a choice in the matter, and avoiding the whole getting flown home event won't affect her relationship with Claude, so it shouldn't be an issue. On the contrary, I need to play it up. If I'm not the one he loves, it's pointless. Once he stopped Beelzebub, Claude frowns a little. What is the meaning of this? If I must go home, I'll return on my own. I categorically refuse to do anything as shameless as flying through the sky in the arms of a... Really? In the arms of a gentleman who is not my fiancé. Gentleman. Beelzebub points at himself, looking perplexed. Claude, who begins to rise from his seat, sits down again. I was only going to send you home in the usual way. No, Master Claude. Being carried by Beelzebub and returning home by air is far removed from the ordinary, or people would positively faint. Very well. I'll take that into consideration. Put down the sword. I have little desire for such theatrics. You're a kind man. How far have I even gotten on this? Jesus. Eileen lowers her sword as she flashes a smile at Claude, whose face is still expressionless. Keith puts a hand to his chin. Her reputation is unflattering, but the young lady has spine. The D'Autrice are a great noble house, too. This chance may be too good to waste. Keith, enough idle talk. In any case, I refuse your request. Go home. Still smiling, Eileen claps her hands together lightly. I'll take my leave if you agree to my proposal. Simple, isn't it? He's not going to agree. As I said before, I don't understand what sense that makes. We've only just met. Why do you want to marry me? Although his expression doesn't change, Claude falters. Uh-oh. Dang it, how far have I gotten recording-wise? Okay, I'm gonna have to end it here. I'll see you guys next time.